Hey, are you construction champions? I'm Ron Newsbaum, and it is another week of the Construction Champions podcast. I'm super excited to be joining you Monday morning, bright and early, as you're headed to the job site. And today we have a rock star, not just in the construction industry, but in life. He is an amazing man doing amazing things. I had the opportunity to meet him out at MenaceCon about a month ago. Jason, it is great to have you on the show today.
Ron, what's up, my brother? The pleasure is mine. Pleasure is mine. Here to help.
Awesome. So why don't you take a few minutes and tell all the construction champions that are listening a little bit about you and what got you here and what you have going on today.
Beautiful. So I'm going to show you a little coconut that I had made. So I am the founder and owner of State 48 Roofing. I started it 3 years ago. We'll go into the details, I'm sure. But yeah, I started it 3 years ago, August of 2019. We did just shy of $11 million last year in revenue, got about 67 employees, fully established, built out team. And yeah, we just try to make an impact and help other people. But the roofing industry specifically has a really, really bad rap and a bad reputation. And so the upcoming generation is trying to change that from what the baby boomers messed up with all the ROC complaints and the poor communication, poor customer service, and so we're trying to change that to where people can feel confident when it comes to, especially the roofing industry, feel confident that what they're going to get is what they're actually going to get. So.
I love it. What led you in 3 years ago to starting a roofing company?
So I've actually been in the roofing industry since January of 2010. I was making $12.50 an hour doing landscaping, and my uncle, who owns another roofing company here in the valley, his son, my cousin, was moving, and they needed to fill a production spot. So they called me and they said, "Hey, do you want to come do roofing?" And I was like, "Sure." I don't know anything about roofing. I'm LDS. I just got back from my mission about a year before that. And I was literally doing I was a landscape irrigation technician, right? Making $12.50 an hour. And he was like, "Well, come run production for us, small company. And all you need to do is speak Spanish and have a clean driver's record." And that was it. And I said, "Okay." And they said, "How much are you making right now?" And as I've learned, the first person to talk about money loses, right? So I was like, making $12.50 an hour. I was like, "Cool, we'll pay you 14." And when I had that mindset, 13 years ago, I thought I became a millionaire overnight, going from $12.50 an hour to $14 an hour. And that's how the journey began in January of 2010. I rode along with him for about 9 years, and just kept climbing the ladder, became the GM, and basically was running it for him, and have it doubled and then tripled his business. And then obviously I wanted a bigger piece of the pie, and we just couldn't come to an agreement. And so I left and went and worked for another roofing company for a year as an outside salesman. And those that can appreciate generating your own leads, I sold $1.8 million from the summer of 2018 to the summer of 2019. 1.8, and they're all self-generated leads. I did not take one lead from the company that I worked for and sold outside sales for. At the same time, I was bootstrapping my own. So every dollar that I have, any side jobs that I was doing, I was taking all that cash and piling it up to start State 48, which opened our doors August 1st of 2019 with a 2-man crew and a office manager, an assistant, really.
Awesome. That's amazing, man. 1.8, no company leads. I mean, you're just crushing it. And you're crushing it now today as well. So I'm going to ask you the $1 million question is, what makes a construction champion today and into the future?
Dude, the biggest thing, someone like starting off right now, would be, there's part one and then part two. Part one you can do because it's free, and then part two you get going once you get some revenue coming in. Social media, man. I'm all about social media. You can reach more eyeballs on social media than you can a Zoom. A Zoom like this, you only get 1 or maybe 5 or 10 or 20 people on a Zoom call. You door to door, you can only talk to one homeowner at a time. There's just, I mean, you can do mailers and whatnot, but realistically, in my opinion, the best way to add value consistently to get your name and your reputation out there and brand recognition is via this multi-million dollar device right here called an iPhone. And people underestimate that all you need is an iPhone. You don't need really anything else other than that to get going and get some momentum, because all of the platforms are free as of right now. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and there's no limit of what you can post. So you never get, you can post as much as you want, whenever you want, whatever content you want. And it's up to you how often you want to do that. And I've generated millions, plural, of dollars simply from pressing record on my iPhone and then uploading it to a social media platform. That'll be in 2023. Biggest thing is we teach is collaborations. So networking, just like you're doing right now, right? You're like, Jason, indirectly, like, Jason, I want to get Jason's attention over and over and over again. It took you a while to get a hold of me to set this up, right?
Yeah, it was what happened. A little bit of back and forth there.
Yeah. So the collaboration, right? But that's what you want to do, is you want to collaborate with me. And so collaborations would be, because relationships, it's all about relationships and leveraging those relationships once they're built and established. And then content with volume. Those are my two things that I preach 7 days a week in 2023. That'll be the fastest way to get momentum and to bang the register.
I love it, and I'm right there with you with the content and the collaboration, like that. That's stuff that you can do just out the door. You just have to have a willingness to do. But for some reason, we hear all the excuses. And what would you say to somebody that's like, I just don't have time to post the content?
If you don't have time, then you must have money, because either you have money or you have time, but normally you're exchanging one for another, right? So if you go out of town, on vacation with your family for a week, you're exchanging money that you would make during that week for time with your family, right? Or I'm on a podcast with you right now. Instead of me going and making a sales call and being the register, I value this time instead of that transaction. And so what happens with me is, when people say I don't have time, I'm like, okay, well, I always tell people, I give them my day to day. I was like, I'm married. I have 5 kids that are all active in sports. We have, I think, 4 or 5 active sport leagues going on right now. I'm active in my church. I'm active in my community. I own a 8-figure business, apart from starting Menace in Business with Terrence and Nick, right? And hosting MenaceCon through a 700-person event, just shy of 700 people, 30 days ago. And I still am able to put up 10 to 15 stories a day and 4 posts. So if your life is busier than mine, then come find me. And even then, I will still find ways to do it. What happens is, one of our core values is creativity follows commitment. And what happens is, people aren't committed on social media, so they're not creative. And so they don't have any self-confidence. They don't think it's going to work. And so their commitment's not there. So the creativity doesn't come with it. And people don't do it because most of the time, people don't do social media and post continuously is because they're making money without having to do it. So they think they can continue to make money without having to do it, which is true. I have friends that have multi-million-dollar businesses and they don't even have an Instagram page. That's fine. But what if they did? And what if they hired somebody, or a VA or somebody, for 40, 50 grand a year to post all this content? They could, I promised everybody, if you post 4 times a day, 365 days in 2023, I guarantee you $1 million in additional revenue to your business, no matter what business you have. It's math.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, and being all in on that social media. And then what are your core values? Because core values, I think, is something that is way overlooked in the construction industry. And I think as being in the industry for as long as I've been, we built core values. I have core values for what I do now, and I personally have core values. And I love that you touched base on that and brought back your point that you're making on what it takes to be a champion to your core values. Because I just think there's a lot of companies running aimlessly out there that don't have those values of like, this is who we are.
Yeah. So when it comes to core values, that would, in my opinion, would be the number one thing that I would establish when you are building any business, construction, tech, it doesn't matter. And the reason why is because when things get tough or you have to make hard decisions or your ethics are being questioned or challenged, when employees are not in sync with what you're wanting to do, it's not the owner versus that employee or the owner versus that client. It's this is our business. This is what we stick to. Those are our business rules, for lack of better words. And anything that goes against these core values is not accepted. So we talk about getting attention and keeping attention, right? That's one of our core values. One of them is never miss Mondays, which means that's a strength and health and fitness for us, right? I just went to a roofing supplier sent 1,000 people, 1,000 roofing contractors, so 500 roofing contractors and their spouses to Cancun for a week. I just got back a couple days ago, and I was there. 90% of them are 50 to 100 pounds overweight, like borderline obese. Their health is absolute garbage, and they're raging alcoholics. All they did was drink for 12 hours a day, but they do that even when they're at home, not just on vacation. And that's a stereotype, obviously. But then you see the rising generation that are my age that make their health and their fitness a priority, because your health isn't your number one priority until your health is your number one priority, right? Until everything goes away and the only thing you have to bank on is your health, right? Mm-hmm. And so never miss Mondays is one where you have to wake up, especially in the construction industry. We're up super early, but what happens is the second we wake up, what happens? We do not make ourselves a priority first. We will dispatch, we'll order materials, we'll get dumpsters or trailers rolled out, we'll order jobs, we'll the second we wake up. I did this for almost a decade, by the way, before I figured out what I was doing wrong. I put on almost 30 pounds, lethargic, pounding monsters, breakfast burritos all day, eating like shit, not making it a priority. And the first thing I do is wake up, check my phone. And so I checked my phone, and the second I woke up, my brain went 100 miles an hour to put out fires. And I never made myself a priority. And the reason why, and because I didn't make myself a priority, everything gets compromised. My marriage was compromised. My relationship with my kids was compromised. My relationship with God was compromised, because the only thing I was making a priority was my company, my business. Because the second I woke up, I went straight to business. 3:30, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, I wasn't working out. I wasn't communicating with God. I wasn't communicating or establishing that relationship with my wife and my kids. And I wasn't making it a priority. And then once you get going, there's no stopping, right? Until the end of the day. And so I've learned to delegate those tasks so I can make my personal development my number one priority first. Because at the end of the day, when you wake up, Ron, when you go look in the mirror, who's the only one in the mirror?
Yourself.
Yeah, it's not your spouse, it's not your kids, it's not your business partners, it's not your neighbors, it's not your church, it's literally you. And if you want to get religious, it's you and God or whoever you believe in. That's it. There's the only ones there, no matter what, because your kids can pass away or something can happen. You can get divorced, right? You can lose your business. And the next day when you wake up, all you have is you. So you have to continually to make yourself a priority each and every single day.
I love it. And what you're talking about, I mean, I went through the exact same. I mean, to get to where I am now, like I remember those days that a phone goes off and you're like, crap, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. And you got problems before the day even starts. Like before your emails come in at midnight that you're putting out fires from the night before, and you're not happy. You're not taking care of yourself, and everything just seems like hell all the time. And it was when that shift happened that I made the decision that I'm going to put myself, my health, and my family, and all of that first. that I actually started to gain momentum and get results. And I love what you're talking about, because it's so relevant to our industry, because we look at it as we got to be this guy that's just like out there and doing all this, putting these fires out. And that's not what we need to be. That doesn't help anybody. That doesn't move anything forward. All we're doing is continuing the cycle. And then with the drinking and all of that, I remember you go to all these conventions and everybody is just there drinking and like, I gave up drinking about 3 years ago. I just said, that's not something that gets me to where I want to go. So I just said, boom, done. We're done with that. And just the change in clarity is amazing.
Yeah, one of the biggest takeaways actually from MenaceCon, and we'll have the recording release, is Sean Whalen, right? Founders of Lions Not Sheep. His book's over here somewhere. Anyways, he gave one of the most profound speeches I've ever heard in my life at MenaceCon about programming. And what happens to our brains is we in the construction world, we are firefighters. We put out fires, especially as the owner. There's nobody above you to put out the fire, so you have to be the one to put out the fire. And as you're growing a business, before you can hire and delegate those fires to be put out by somebody else, they're on you. But what happens is we're programmed that we have to put them out. The second my phone rings, the second there's that text message, I have to put out that fire, whether it's 3 a.m., 12 noon, 6 p.m., 10 p.m. We have to put out that fire, or we're going to go out of business, or I'm going to get sued, or I'm going, my life's going to fall apart, or I'm going to get a 1-star review. And so we have that fear that if we don't respond immediately to X person or X employee or X crew or X supplier, or X manufacturer, for whatever the problem is, big or small, that we suck at our jobs and that we're not a competent contractor and that we don't know what we're doing. And what happens is, my wife actually hated this for years, is I would have realtors, my go time in the roofing industry was from like 4 a.m. until 4 p.m. for lack of better words. After about 4 or 5 p.m., it got pretty chill because the sun goes down. But realtors, they thrive, from 3 p.m. until 10 p.m. Right? That's their go time, because they're doing listings and writing up offers and escrows and inspections and benzers and all that crap. And so they'd be blowing me up, and I'm like, and so my phone would be just buzzing and buzzing and buzzing next to my bed. I'd be laying in bed watching a show with my wife, trying to connect with her and enjoy ourselves for 30 minutes or an hour, and bzz, 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 emails, text messages, phone calls. And for the longest time, I felt obligated that I had to answer those, because if I didn't, then they wouldn't call me back again. If I didn't, then my company would suffer. My income would decrease. And it's all about programming. I program my brain, and my clients actually program my brain for me, saying, if you don't answer my phone, at least I thought this, right? If I don't answer that phone call, if I don't respond to that email, if I don't respond to that text message, then they're never going to use me again. I'm going to go out of business because they're going to call me again. And then I don't know what happened, other than my wife just saying, hey, like, enough is enough. You need to set boundaries. It's a great word that us construction people need to understand and build and implement our boundaries. And by implementing those boundaries, it allowed me more freedom. And guess what? I actually made more money, and I set boundaries with those people, whether it was my employees, whether it was crews, whether it was, like I said, especially clients of any category. And I said those things. And so you can get a hold of me between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. Why? Because that is my time to do whatever I want. And that's where I connect with God. That's where I can go work out. That's where I can work on my mental game and listen to some audibles, read some books. And then about 7:30, 8 o'clock is when I turn my phone on for business and start checking those text messages and emails and all that stuff. Gary Brecka, who was also at MenaceCon, talked about that. Like, the last thing you should do is check your phone in the morning. That's the last thing you should do. You need to drink some water and go get some exercise and get your body flowing before you go entertain that. Because once that starts, you can't just put out 1 or 2 and then stop. It's an ongoing thing. It's called work, right? But you need to dictate and control when that happens. And that happened about 2 years ago for me, and it doubled my income, and I got my health back. I got my relationships back, and started making more money. Ironically, you're like, wait, but I had to create those boundaries and implement them.
What was the aha moment when your wife said that, or was there something else that inspired that the light bulb went off that this is how I have to do, and I have to prioritize myself before everything else? What was that? What made that change happen and be so powerful?
Well, so the two main ones was my wife said, "Hey, I need you," because I wasn't doing anything in the mornings, right? I was up at 4 o'clock and I was gone for the day. So I have 5 kids, and 3 of them are in school, 3.5 of them are in school, and so I wouldn't help with getting them up to school, breakfast, like getting them ready. I wasn't doing any of that, and she understood that that's part of the game and the grind, and my go time is in the morning, not in the afternoons, or in the evenings necessarily. And but what happened is my evenings started going from 5 o'clock to 5:30 to 5:30 to 6, sometimes 7, sometimes 8. And that's from 5 o'clock is dinner time, right? From 5 to 8 is quote unquote family time. Now, to each their own. Some people don't care about this. I made this a huge priority, and it changed my life and my relationships with my wife and my kids. She said, I need 3 out of 24 hours. Can you give me 1/8 of your day? Can you give your family 1/8 of your day? And that was an aha moment for me. I'm like, holy crap. I was like, she just needs me to put my phone away. I literally put my phone on my charger in my room and take my watch out, because if not, this thing will keep buzzing too, right? So I take both of those, put them in the room from 5 to 8 o'clock. I've learned now I can still have my phone in there, but it was such a drug. It was like a dopamine addiction. It was just crazy for me. Where I had my phone on me. I had to have my phone on me. It was like I had FOMO, right? And that was one of my biggest ones. But from 5 to 8, I was able to spend quality time with my kids and quality time with my wife. And literally after 8, 9 o'clock, guess what? When you're building a business, you've got to put in an extra 2, 3, 4 hours that night, right? So 8 to midnight, 9 to midnight, 10 to midnight, whether it was for an hour or 2 or 3 or 4, I would go back into the office and I get back on my phone and continue to work. But that 5 to 8 really created quality time with my family that I think a lot of people in any business, in any industry, jeopardize and give up because they're building a business. But the second part was I got fat. I played college baseball. I was shredded. I had a 6-pack. I was actually on a Hollister bag, believe it or not, for the ripped dudes with the shirt off. I had hair back in the day. I don't now, and I had a 6-pack. So, but yeah, I didn't. I was fat. I was overweight. I'd burn out at like 3:30. So I'd pound another monster, and then I'd pound another one at 7 or 8 o'clock to get me through to midnight. So I'm pounding 2 or 3 monsters a day, which is obviously terrible for you. And so that was the other thing. I got super fat, got that inner tube around the stomach, and that kind of shit bugs me. When I take my shirt off, I want my wife to be proud of and be almost jealous of the body that I have. Not like, look at this fat slob. Yeah, he's building a business, but he gave up on himself. So those are my 2 aha moments that changed my life for sure.
I love it. That's so powerful. For everybody listening out there, put the monster down right now. I did the same thing. I gave them up. Like, it's not good for you. Like, that's just not something that gets us to our end result. Jason, it has been fantastic. You have dropped some fire for all listeners out there. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on the Construction Champions podcast. For everybody that's listening out there, if they wanted to reach out to you or follow you or get linked into all the social media you put out there, where's the best place for them to do that?
So there's 20 different places, but the main one where you'll see me 7 days a week is Jason the Menace on Instagram. So at Jason the Menace. From there, I'm on TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn and all that other stuff. But the fastest way, if you want to shoot me a DM, you want to follow me, you want to get some tips on how to run an 8-figure business, it would be at Jason the Menace. And yeah, and like I said, it's we host events throughout the year as well too. I'm not going to put any dates on here, but yeah, we'll post that and promote that as we go. We do contractor masterminds as well too. So if you're in the contracting space and you want to, you haven't done your first million, we can help you get to that first million. If you want to do 3 or 5 or 7 million, we can do that. We just helped the guy yesterday get a game plan and strategy to go from, he did 1.2 last year to get into 4 this year. We had helped a guy that did 1.6 last year. We actually helped him hit 4 million last year, and he's on track for 7 this year. So if you want to take your business to the next level, add Jason the Menace. You can shoot me a DM, and all I do is try and add value and educate, whether it's business coaching or construction industry. Those are my two loves. So.
Absolutely. And if you guys are out there looking to grow, I'm going to tell you, these guys, Jason, the Menace, that whole, what they're doing, it's the real deal. I mean, you have a guy on here that is running an $11 million roofing company and then showing others how to do that. To me, that's what this is all about. That's what being a construction champion is all about today. Is how do we help bring others along? If you need help, don't hesitate to reach out to Jason and all the guys that he has around him. It's absolutely amazing. I love watching it. I 100% support what they're doing. If you're following me anywhere on social media, you're going to see me plugging their stuff, the masterminds, because this is the stuff that adds value to the entire industry. So, all right, all you construction champions, go out there, have the best week you can possibly have, and go be a champion. Be different. Don't be like everybody else showing up to the job site with a monster in their hand, putting out a cigarette. Let's change the reputation around the entire industry today, and let's get out there and let's kick butt this week.